Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the Kingdom of Rizia. In today's episode, well, let's learn our start and see how the beginning goes. The angelic sounding voices of a boys' choir echoed through the great hall of Palace Resna. To most Rizians, this was the grandest room in the grandest building in the entire country. To me, it was just home. I remember wandering between the mosaic-tiled columns as a bored teenager, watching the upper gallery as my father met with foreign dignitaries. And of course, this was where I had married Lena. I leaned forward in the Silurka, the gold-plated wooden throne on which all monarchs of Rizia were coronated. The ceremonial robes I was wearing chafed against the scar on my shoulder. I thought about the kidnapper's bullet and how close I'd come to never seeing this day. Ooh. The hall before me was filled with nobles, politicians, business magnates, even movie stars. The television crew moved up and down the aisles, broadcasting the ceremony to the Rizian public for the first time. My mother was sitting in the front row, next to Uncle Hugo. Tradition dictated that in the absence of a king or queen consort, the seat next to me would be filled by the successor to the throne, Vina, plucked at a straw thread in her gown. How are you feeling, Father? Ready for the next chapter. My daughter smiled. Me too. I wish Mother was the one sitting here, though. The final notes of the coronation hymn, "By His Sword I Live," rang out. An expectant silence filled the hall. It was broken by the sound of shuffling footsteps. The cameras followed Grand Wiseman Sal Ignatius as he walked slowly down the central aisle, bearing a velvet cushion. He presented it in front of me. On it was the Taurus crown, a black onyx orb, and a scroll containing the words to the royal's oath. Look at the crown. I gazed at the Taurus crown, forged by my family took the throne 150 years ago. It was made of pure gold, adorned with two twisting spires resembling bull's horn. Look at us, Stella. I caught my mother's eye. She gave me a conspiratory wink. I lifted the orb off the cushion and ran my fingers across the smooth surface. It was inlaid with the trio of diamonds representing the three royal houses of Rizia, Taurus, Azaro, and Suzerain. Recite the oath. I took the scroll off the cushion and read aloud from it. I hereby pledge myself in service to the great nation of Rizia and its people. I promise to guide my country with a steadfast hand, to uphold the laws of this land under State Werkek's watchful eye, to yield the sword of justice and the shield of mercy in equal measure. All this I shall do until the day I die. May Saint Werkek fill you with his Holy Spirit on this day, as he did your ancestors before you. With trembling hands, Grand Wiseman Ignatius lifted the crown off the cushion. I could spot a gray hair still clinging to his inner rim, my father's. May you keep the promises you have made before God and your people. The crown came down on my head. Its heaviness surprised me. Heavy the one who wears the crown. By the divine power vested in me, I proclaim you sovereign king of Rizia. Arise, King Ramus. Stand up. I stood up. The chair broke into, the choir broke into shores of gold, on shores of gold, the Rizian national anthem. Stop them and make a speech. I held up my hand for silence. The choir stopped singing. Confusion whispered ran through the crowd. I know this is highly unusual, but we are living in unusual times. Uncle Hugo had been looking bored up to this point. He now sat bolt upright. My father was a great but flawed man. His mistakes will not be repeated. It is time to show all of Mercopa what Rizia is capable of. Let's just go for it. I promise I will take back the lands that have been stolen from us. Hugo's expression relaxed. He smiled. Only once Rizia is united under a strong king can a new era begin. May God bless this country and its people. The hall fell silent again. My uncle was the first to speak. Glorious Axa Rizia! Glory to Rizia. His shout reverberated throughout the hall. The attendees hurriedly broke into enthusiastic applause. The choir restarted the national anthem. I passed my cousin Rico in the second row. He looked at me and smiled. As we kept walking, I recognized various other members of Rizia's 3 royal houses, as well as monarchs from distant kingdoms. The entire back row was reserved for the Rumburgian royal family and their entourage. I could feel my sister-in-law, Beatrice's eyes on me. We reached the end of the hall, where a spiral staircase led to the palace balcony. Come, Vina. Let's greet your future subjects. My daughter beamed and put her arm through mine. We walked up and up the stairs until we came to a door. Open it. I stepped out onto the balcony. The sunlight was so dazzling I was almost blinded. When my eyes adjusted, I regarded the scene below me. Thousands and thousands of people were packed onto the palace grounds, some waving the Rizian flag, others with the House Taurus banner. Just beyond them, at the gate, the police easily held back a small pocket of protesters. I paid little attention to them. I was focused on the noise of the crowd, an overwhelming roar that gradually cohered into a single chant. Salnas Axa Rugo Nalvos! All hail the new king. All hail the new king! Rafus Grogit Royal Gossip, Coronation Fashion Edition. For the first televised coronation in history, the royal family pulled out all the stops. While King Ramus looks resplendent in his gold brocaded robe, all eyes were on Queen Mother Estella, who strode through the grand hall in a flowing purple gown with a lengthy embroidered train and a plunging necklace. Inappropriate for a woman of her age? I'll let you readers decide. Next to her grandmother, Princess Vina, looked positively demure in her long-sleeve gown and simple diamond tiara. The trio put on a good show, but the absence of House Taurus' most beautiful and stylish member, the late Princess Consort Lena of Rumburg, was acutely felt. Should His Majesty ever remarry, his new wife will have a hard time outdressing her predecessor. Okay, then. King Ramus gives address in grand coronation ceremony. All of Rizia rejoiced as our new king, Ramus Taurus, celebrated his coronation in the Grand Hall of Palace Resina. His Majesty was the picture of grace as he proceeded through the hall together with Queen Mother Estella and Princess Vina. In a solemn ceremony, accompanied by boys' choir of Zilba and presided over by Grand Wiseman Sal Ignatius, he accepted the Taurus crown and bejeweled orb representing our nation's proud trio of noble houses. He rose as king, and after an unconventional but well-received speech, greeted his public from the palace balcony. Some 20,000 commoners arriving from all corners of the country were generously allowed onto the palace grounds for the occasion. Woo! Geopolitico. New Rizian king hints at iron rule. As of today, Rizia has a new king, Ramus Taurus, son of the late monarch, Valero, ascended to the throne in a lavish televised ceremony attended by royals, dignitaries, foreign ambassadors, and members of the press. Our attention was focused less on the archaic rites of the coronation itself, and more on the unconventional speech given by King Ramus, in which he implied that his strength would unite the country. After the fizzled-out reign of Valero the Frail, is iron rule returning to Rizia? Time will tell. Time certainly will tell. Monquiz. Herbertus Torres appointed acting Duke of Villarquiz. With the governing seat of Monquiz open after our ascension to the throne, it was decided that our cousin, Herbertus, the closest Torres relative living in the province, would assume the position until, if and when Princess Vina is appointed Duchess. In a private meeting, he sent his assurance that he and his family would remain servants of the king. Good. Suzerain sent formal congratulations. The Suzerain nobility has issued their formal congratulations on our coronation. Family members hosted an outdoor screening of the ceremony at Arena Salabez, attended by citizens from across the province of Brinas. Monteclair. Coronation honored at Camp Damas. To mark our coronation, Acting War and Security Council Duchess Lucata Azaro, together with head of the armed forces Carlos Robles Azaro, led the military forces at Camp Damas in special exercises. Most other high-ranking members of House Azaro were present at the festivities, with the exception of General Tedius, who remained in a hospital after suffering a stroke. Oh, that's too bad for him. The Grand Duchy of Pales. Duke Rienhart sends his well wishes. In a letter from Pales' capital, Duke Rienhart expressed his congratulations on our coronation and his condolences of the death of King Valero. He hoped that the transition will usher in a new chapter of Pelesian-Riesian relations. Oh, there'll be a new era, all right. That's for sure. The Republic of Morella. Morellian Prime Minister Elma Sultana sends congratulations gift. The newly elected Prime Minister of Morella reached out to us after our coronation, sending our best wishes and desire to work more closely together, especially on matters regarding the Meftian International Trade Zone. I'll think about it. Nurse Republic of Dirtia. Supreme Wiseman Asman sends congratulations from Dirtia. Dirtian leader Jorga Asma has sent us a message of congratulations following our coronation, as well as assurance that God is with us. Despite our different interpretation of the Wersius religion, he invites us to join him for a friendly conversation in the capital of Neal at our leisure. Sure, at some point I'd love to, when I have time. Queen Beatrice and Grace send formal congratulations. Upon returning home from the coronation ceremony, Queen Beatrice Livingston sent an official message of congratulations on behalf of both Rumberg and Grace, the Guild of Royal Allies for Commercial Exchange. She welcomed us to the ranks of the world's remaining monarchs and attached a personal note expressing her sorrow that her sister did not live to see our coronation. Yes, it is terribly sad. Coronation celebration. Decide the scale. The Riesian public is eager to celebrate their new king's coronation. Investing in lavish celebrations could make a good first impression and earn their favor. No. We'll have a small parade in the capital. We will simply host a small parade. Early morning at Palace Rizia. The morning after my coronation, I was woken up by a knock on the door. It took me a few seconds to remember where I was. The royal bedroom on the top floor of the residential wing. This is not a presidential thing. I'm sorry. I am used to Suzerain. Base game. I might accidentally say stuff like that sometimes because I'm used to the base game. I just finished it on my channel after all. Well, actually I finished it weeks ago, but you know, timeline. But anyways, on the top floor of the residential wing of Palace Rizia made the one in Taurus Palace in Manquiz look shabby. Ornate gold trim covered the walls. I was alone in a bed that could easily have slept floor. The knocking on the door continued. Who is it? The door opened, and Pabal gracefully stepped in. Head butler. Okay. I'm gonna read all of this, all of this in future episode. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring that. We're gonna be reading it all soon enough in a big, long episode. And I'm not gonna do multiple episodes this time. We're getting a huge episode with all the lore at once. Hope you're excited, and it's gonna take a while to record. So, yeah. In the years I'd been gone, the groundskeeper's son had worked his way up to chief butler. I'd seen him on visits to the palace, but he rarely exchanged words. Now he was the head of my royal household. You said you wanted to be woken up at this time, your majesty? Yes, I did. It's best to get a head start while the day's still young. Pabal nodded. Indeed. You've got a packed schedule ahead of you today, sir. He briskly drew back the heavy velvet curtain. Sunshine flooded the room. I trust you slept well? No, not really. I was thinking about father. Compassion appeared in his eyes. My condolences, your majesty. This must not be an easy time. He can't have been an easy man to serve, especially toward the end. Something dark passed across Pabal's face. He had his difficult moments, but I tried my best to make him comfortable in his last days. He moved over to my amour and began pulling out items of clothing. Why don't you join your family downstairs? I'll have your outfit ready by the time you're finished eating. That sounds perfect, thank you. Queen Mother Estella and Princess Vina must be waiting already. You should get a move on. Don't worry, your majesty. I'll make sure you're the best-dressed king in Riesian history. Even more fashionable than King Darius the Debonair? I wasn't aware such a monarch exists, but yes, I'll do my best. Enjoy your breakfast. I don't know if they do exist. I just thought that was a funny choice. Still in my dressing gown, I headed downstairs. In the eastern dining room, an enormous breakfast spread had been laid out. My mother was already sitting at the table, digging a spoon into a simple grapefruit half. Good morning, Mother. Same to you, darling. Despite the early hour, my mother was already in her full makeup. She dabbed at her lips with a napkin. That was one cheeky speech you gave yesterday. The papers are having a field day. I meant every word of it. I'm sure that you did. Her face grew stern. You ought to be careful, though. This country takes its royal traditions seriously. Your father and I learned that the hard way. I mean, I'm if anything, my speech was actually, I am trying to break tradition, but it's more recent tradition. I'm kind of trying to make it less constitutional. I'm very traditional. If anything, I'm more traditional than this country is, so, you know, get wrecked. What did he say to you before he died, by the way? I never asked. He said not to make the same mistakes he did. He must have been talking about Zeal and Pales, his great follies. It's a pity he didn't live to preside over my homeland's big return to Rizia, but soon you will. Zilly will be ours again, and so will Pales. I never cared about Pales, but I don't have to tell you how much Zeal means to me. But don't let me nattering on keep you from eating. A king needs his energy. She handed me a risetta, the traditional rice and quince custard tart. The crust was exceptionally flaky. And just then, Vina came bounding down the stairs. Isn't it a lovely morning? My daughter kissed Mother on the cheek, then gave me a shy wave. I nearly got lost on my way here, Grandma. Why didn't you tell me this place had such a big library? Eat now, darling. She eagerly took a plate and started piling it high with pastries. My mother clicked her tongue disapprovingly. Not too many of those. The sweeter the taste, the wider the waste. Don't you agree, Aramis? It's a special occasion. Our diet can start tomorrow. Vina took a bite of Rizzetti and gave an exaggerated sigh of pleasure. My mother rolled her eyes. Suit yourself. Now, if anyone in this place could make a halfway decent strudel, that would be worth ruining one's figure for. Amazing. We ate for a while in silence. Vina looked lost in thought. Finally, she spoke up. Father, I wanted to ask you something. You know that I'm 18 now. That old? How time flies. That was supposed to be a joke, right? I was thinking I'm old enough to accompany you to your council meetings. It's unusual for a female heir to join the council, I know. But didn't you do the same when you were my age? Actually, no. At 8, well, yeah. I actually just joined the military when I was 18, though, so, Well, 18 is old enough to get involved in royal politics. And Rizia the Great is a huge legacy for me to live up to. You shouldn't have to worry about living up to anyone's legacy. You're great in your own right. That's kind of you, Father, but Lisa was the most beloved queen in our history. Of course people will compare me to her. You're getting ahead of yourself, sweetheart. The crown is on your father's head right now, not yours. She looked at me sharply. And what your father needs is for your lovely little face to be seen at balls and ribbon-cutting ceremonies, not hidden behind council doors. I don't know. She's my only heir at the moment. She should probably know what to do in case I die. I think it's probably a good idea. Now, Mother, we both know Vina is much more than a pretty face. That's an outdated image of a princess, isn't it? Vina wants to get involved in politics. I don't see why I shouldn't let her. It would mean the world to me, Father. You want to spend the best years of your life cooped up in the den of snakes? The council isn't some wise old knowing entity. Everyone on it is only looking after their own house and their own stature. And God help you if you get in the way of either of those. I've always found it odd that we entrust the country's direction to a handful of privileged nobles. If choosing when to ignore the council will be a part of my future duties, I need to learn how to do that too. You know, honestly, she's got a point. She's got a point. If I'm gonna... she's got a point. I promise it'll be like I'm not even there, and I'll step out in public as much as I can. Mina looked at me with pleading eyes. Alright, Vina, you can come to the meetings. My daughter's face lit up. Thank you! I can't wait to start. Oh, I'd better refresh myself on Rizian law. She pushed her plate away and dashed back up the stairs. When she was gone, my mother lit a cigarette. You do realize that she'll be nothing but a liability to you in that room. She's the heir apparent. It'll be good education for her. I hope you're right. The clock struck 9:15. My first council meeting was starting soon. I excused myself from the table. As I was leaving the dining room, my mother cleared her throat. He always believed you'd make a good king, and you know, even if you didn't, always show it. I won't just be good. I'll be the best. I headed back upstairs to fetch Vina. It was almost time to go. Alright. Let's see what's going on. Quellis, read the port. 1950 to be an exceptional wine year. Ooh! The Cantaluevo family vineyard in Calais has begun bottling its latest batch of Cavil, the first to follow last year's record harvest. That they have named it Ramus the Red, and claim 1950 will go down in history as an exceptional year for Rizian wine. Nice. Baron and Baroness of Villarquiz reaffirmed loyalty after absence. Security forces were dispatched to the estate of Lord and Lady Julio and Octavia Torres, following their conspicuous absence from her coronation. In the past, the couple was suspected of spreading false rumors discrediting King Valero's claim to the throne. However, they testified that their absence was due to a bout of food poisoning and improperly prepared shellfish, and enthusiastically reaffirmed their fealty to the King Ramus and his family. Alright. We'll keep that in mind. Coronation party at Isa Palace, marred by hooliganism. A post-coronation party held at Palace Rico Torres, Duke of Isa, was unfortunately interrupted by a small group of hooligans waving signs and chanting "In the Torres reign" at the gates. Aided by a number of civilian watchdogs from Isa-based group Su Amino, police were able to swiftly disperse the troublemakers, many of whom appeared to be of foreign descent. When asked for comment, Duke Rico responded, "These criminals are guests in our country. If they want to live here, they've got to bend the knee to our king. It's as simple as that." Agreed. Arcasian armed forces advance in South Xena. Following its costly campaign in West Xena, Arcasia has intensified its military operations South Xena, aimed to dismantle Melivest-leaning regimes and promote democratic governments. The move comes as Arcasia faces growing resistance from Narashima and Ziinla, where CSP influence on the rise. The conflict has escalated, with Arcasian armed forces engaging in fierce battles against well-entrenched local forces. Back home, the Arcasian public grows increasingly concerned about the soaring military expenditures and the slow pace of resource extractions causing price inflections. Alright, but I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode, and I think next time might be lore time. So, I'll see you then. Bye! I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.